We're on.
Absolutely. Good morning and welcome to the ultimate entrepreneurial challenge. It's that entrepreneurial, I can't even say it right. So my name is Simone and I am the founder of Northern Power Women. I'm delighted this morning to be joined by the enigmatic, stylish, too cool for school. Look at that hair, styles within an each of its life. Sam White, serial entrepreneur and just kick-ass role model. Welcome this morning.
Thank you, Simone. That is a hell of an introduction. And I'm particularly impressed that you're doing this from a boat.
I know, indeed. Look, it's not even rocking. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on. I know, it's literally life rocks right now, doesn't it, Sam? And I thank you for this is the first of one of our season of chats as we navigate through this crazy times, right? You know, we chatted just prior to this about, you know, everyone globally is impacted by this. And so, but how for entrepreneurs, how do we navigate this? I'm just saying that because of the boat reference, you know.
It's an interesting one. I was having a chat with a friend of mine about this the other day, because obviously the levels of anxiety at the moment in the UK are super, super hard. Very, very scary for a lot of individuals for a lot of different reasons. But I think one of the things that I've learned over the last 20 years in being an entrepreneur is to not try and predict the future. None of us are Nostradamus. And as much as we like to put spreadsheets down and numbers in spreadsheets and assume that everything's going to be great, my general experience is that things are never how you expect them to be. So of course, I'm anxious for my family and for everybody's health and well-being. But from a business viewpoint, this doesn't necessarily scare me any more than the usual business challenges. And I've had a number of those over the years. I once lost 60% of my revenue lines in a 4-week period. And had to navigate my way through that and find solutions. And this is you know, not dissimilar to that. The one sort of ray of light around this situation is that actually the government is offering to help support. I think that's really important because, you know, we are going to have these challenges. It absolutely is going to need looking at and reconfiguring and sorting, but we're not alone. What we are in this situation is supported by the government, and we can also support each other. I've had a number of people that I really respect and admire reach out to me and say, look, I know it's difficult right now. You know, I'm sat in my house. If you need to bounce anything off me, talk anything through, let's do that. Let's have a conversation. And this is from, you know, people that have sold multi-million pound businesses and have kind of come out the other side. And so for me, it's really important for us to see this, not allow the fear to grab you, because as an entrepreneur, that is the thing that will always take you down. You can't get sucked into that. You can't get into the mindset that you think that this is a disaster and there's no way out of it, because there absolutely is. And there is support and there is opportunities to strengthen your business during this time.
So ask for help. I mean, we say that all the way through, don't we? You know, sometimes you don't go alone. There are people out there, and I think the power of that community is immense, isn't it?
It's huge. I mean, as I say, I've been contacted by businesses that are larger than me. How are you getting on with your furloughing forms? We've had XYZ look at it and we've tracked it through, and this is what we think we can see with it. It's not always possible to get hold of the banks or the government, because obviously they're inundated at the moment, but there is support outside of that to talk stuff through. And as I say, you've just got to work through that process and just look at it as another business challenge. Because if you are going to set out as an entrepreneur, you're going to have plenty of them over a period of time.
Absolutely. And so, you know, I think we're learning new words that have been around for years, like furloughing you've just mentioned, isn't it? You know, and I think, how do you navigate through so much information? Because you only have to look through various, you know, Twitter feeds, you know, online. I've never had so many newsletters, and I don't think I've ever been a part of so many WhatsApp groups. And there's lots of sharing. But how do you really cut through? Where would you say the best places to go for that information? Because often you can go to the government websites, but they're not quite there yet, you know, and people are still. Yeah. How do you get through the assumption phase, I think?
Well, so I go cut to the chase, go to a mentor that's in a slightly more established business, because they will have done it, I guarantee you, and ask them for help. Because, you know, they will have not only downloaded the information, but put an interpretation on it. And I've had 2 or 3 contacts of mine send me sort of completed forms and paperwork and say, look, this is what it looks like. You know, Simone, if you need help with that for your guys, I'm more than happy to share what I've got, so we can kind of stick that stuff over. But I don't think you start from that position. You start from your own business. So what I've done is look at my business and say, what can I reasonably assume today, based on the information I have today? And one of the things I've done is reached out to Italian counterparts, because they're 3 weeks ahead of us in that journey, and just to say, what kind of trends did you see in your business that I can expect to see? With that, you then track those numbers through, and you then work out what is likely to happen and what support you may or may not need during this period of time. And I think it's important to be pragmatic at this time and kind of go through the steps, because you are in danger of flailing otherwise and sort of panic. Oh my God, where am I going to get, you know, how am I going to make this work? And I think it's important to say, this is likely to be the new normal, at least for the next 2 months. Under that set of circumstance, what do I need to do?
And we talk about, you know, Northern Power, when we talk a lot about what's the art of the possible, you know.
Yes.
You know, so what are there's opportunities out there though, right, as well? I think sometimes you can't see it because it's like, and I think maybe we're in a phase of we're all putting our own masks on, so to speak, because I think we've got to do that, haven't we, before we reach out. But there are possibilities.
Well, I mean, if you're in the supermarket trade at the moment, business is probably booming. I mean, manufacturing toilet roll seems to be a probably great new career. But joking aside, there's opportunities not just from a commercial viewpoint. So, you know, you look at this NHS volunteering scheme. What we've said to our people is firstly, if we have to furlough you, you know, is that something that you would want? Because we're trying to establish which people probably could do with being furloughed, because their family environments, you know, the situation with the kids and homeschooling makes it almost impossible to work from home. But also the people that may really need work as a distraction during this time. But then what we've said as a secondary thing is, how many of you, if you were furloughed, would be happy to volunteer for the NHS scheme? Because if we furlough off 50 people during this period of time, I'd much rather that those people then were able to go and do some good in the community. And I think, again, you know, like Northern Power, there are ways of us kind of coming together to have a combined level of strength in this set of circumstance. I've seen a lot of stuff about supporting locally. So, you know, you've got social media guys that are able to maybe join forces with some of the local shops that actually maybe aren't as depleted as some of the big supermarkets, and organise some kind of network to connect the consumers that want the groceries with the groceries from the local stores. You know, there's so many different ways that we can all work together during this period of time, so that we're all in a better position overall.
Yeah, and I think the food delivery side is brilliant, because I was following a Twitter feed this week, and the executive head chef talking about his suppliers that he's now using. I don't even know the guy, but you know, a few little. One of my issues is I don't think we should be calling it social distancing. We should be calling it physical distancing, because we need more social.
Yeah,
because there is so much good. Yeah. so much good coming out of the those social communities. I mean, there's some tremendous gifts, but that's a whole other side, and some of them are a bit mucky, but we'll put them over there. But yeah, I chatted to this guy and I said, could you put all that information in one place, because we can share that across our our communities. We can also copy that and emulate that in other communities. So my mother's been growing fruit and veg. She takes a good life. She's sending me pictures.
Yeah, my dad's
2 days ago. 2 days ago, she puts this picture in the family WhatsApp group of this, beautiful. And I'm like, I seriously don't believe my mum has grown bananas in the last 2 weeks, kind of thing. And she went, no, I've given up a little bit, but I found a local delivery and it's brilliant. Comes to the door, they put some extra eggs in there because the chickens have gone wild or whatever. And it's this whole, this to me is that what the positive out of this. A bit like,
yes.
What we're doing now, 8 p.m. on the balconies, or wherever you are, come out and, put those hands together for those phenomenal heroes out there. So I think we need the uplift, do we not?
Yeah, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. And you know what? Human beings are resilient. That is our absolute core strength and an attribute. And we don't know what's going to come out of this. But what I am sure of is that we have some control over what comes out, and it doesn't have to all be negative. It can be positive. That's our choice. We decide how this plays out based on the choices we make, the interactions we have, and whether we choose to allow fear to drive those decisions or hope.
And if there's one thing, as we sort of end this week, if there's one thing that you could throw out there to entrepreneurs and small businesses and even large businesses who are all going through this unknown, what is the one thing that you would say, right, why don't you tackle this today? The days where you have that, I was speaking to someone earlier, just going, I'm having a wobble today. I don't mind saying, I don't know why, it's not been brought up anything new, I'm just having a wobble. How do we de-wobble?
How do we de-wobble? Perspective, I think, is absolutely key at this time. And however you get that perspective, some people like to meditate. I like to meditate. I like to read. I like to exercise. Like all of those things are things that ground me and allow me to kind of feel safer and calmer. But I think right now, the important thing for us all to remember is we're all in this situation. You are not alone. This is unprecedented, but it's not just hitting you. It is hitting everybody. And that gives me a great level of comfort. And it might sound strange, but I think a shared problem will inevitably result in shared solutions. And so sometimes it's very easy to kind of feel like it's just affecting you and you're in your little box and it's panicky and scary, but it's not. And if other people can find solutions, you can run in those slipstreams, and that is the beauty of the current situation, as I've found, is that not only are other people finding solutions, but they're sharing those solutions. So get yourself calm, get yourself in a good space, and then open up your eyes and open up and listen and take on board, because there's loads and loads of things that we can be doing right now.
Do you know, that's brilliant, and thank you so much, and we will see you in the slipstream next week. Have a great week, be safe, be healthy, love to your family or your colleagues, and thanks so much, Sam. Thank you.
More than welcome. Lovely to speak to you, Simone.
Lovely to speak to you. Thank you.
How do I need to work out how to switch it off.
Go back to the
Stop
third
recording. There you go.